Hello. I am literally podcasting from everywhere in my house other than my YouTube studio downstairs in my basement. Eventually, you guys will see it, but for now, I don't know, it's just easier to do this. So, this is, I think, episode 4 or 5. I'm really bad at this shit. And I had an idea. I really want to have people on and have discussions, kind of like if you're watching this, you've seen the episode I did with my mother, kind of like that. Maybe a little bit more structured, but kind of just seeing where things go with people. There are a lot of people in my life I want to talk to because I know they've been through certain situations and can give some good insight. But for right now, I kind of just wanted to come on. I don't even know how long this episode is going to be, but I've been thinking a lot and kind of looking at people in my life around me, not even just in my life, just in general, the society we live in and the age that we're in right now of dating, and kind of just talk about how people are way too fucking afraid to be alone. And I know if you're watching this on YouTube, you have not probably listened to the first episode because it wasn't recorded with a camera. I just kind of literally sat on my toilet and recorded it on my phone. But in that episode, I kind of touched on how this quarantine is hard for a lot of people, not just because of the actual virus that's happening and the people that are dying. Obviously, that's hard. But because also people are now faced with themselves and their demons. And we as a society, as a whole society, don't really like to do that too much. We don't like to face our shit. We like to point fingers at everybody else and blame other people. And I mean, you can see it in every facet of life, from politics, which I don't really want to go into, to this fucking virus itself. Nobody wants to take accountability. And I think I'm going to kind of narrow it down to relationships because that's where I can shed the most insight. But I think that's why a lot of people are afraid, like really afraid to be alone. Because when you're alone, that's when you have to face yourself. You have to face your demons. You have to face your shortcomings. And it's hard. That's hard for people to do. So, I don't understand. Here's my thing. You guys already know my story. That was episode 2. I've been alone, like really alone, for 2 years, pretty much. Spending time with myself, getting to know myself again, putting in the work because I'm self-aware enough to know that I still got some fucking work to do, you know? And I've put in the work. Yeah, it gets lonely and I'd love to cuddle with somebody at night. But overall, I know that I can't make somebody happy 100% if I can't make myself happy. And I can't make them happy if they're not coming 100% happy. Because I feel like a healthy relationship is two individual people who are whole 100%. They've filled their own cups up 100%, and they come together to overflow with one another and share. It's not I'm coming into your life to fill a void, because if that is what you're looking for in a relationship, you will literally be let down every fucking time. Because nobody else, it's not my job on this planet to make you happy. And I know that sounds dickish, but I wasn't my purpose in life is not to make sure you are okay and happy. I'm here. If I'm your girlfriend, I'm here and I'm going to make you happy, and I'm going to compromise, and I'm going to communicate and be there for you, but because I want to, not because it's my job, and not because you need that, but because you want that, and because I want to give it. If that makes any sense. So here's my thing. When you come into a relationship and you're insecure, we all have insecurities, but you are so insecure, you have those insecurities that you've not put the work into fixing, and they consume your life type of thing because you haven't put the work in, and you don't have self-love, and you hate yourself. I could be this person that gives and gives and gives, which is literally who I am. But no matter how much I give to you, if you already are coming into this hating yourself, not loving who you are wholeheartedly, unconditionally, you're never going to be happy with I could bring you the fucking moon and say, here you go, baby. Here's the moon. And you could be like, the moon? Why didn't you give me the sun? You know what I mean? And that's the issue with a lot of people today. We're afraid to spend time with ourselves and not have distractions from anybody else, like even fucking. Not that fucking is bad, right? But sometimes we get caught up in these situations, these situationships, right? Because we're so afraid to be alone. We need companionship at all times because we can't be our own companions. We're too hateful to ourselves that we can't even stand to be alone with ourselves, right? So we look outward, we look elsewhere, we look outside ourselves to fill that void. And we become distracted. We get into these situationships that we really genuinely, wholeheartedly, deep down in our soul don't want to be in. But because we're too afraid to be in a relationship with ourselves for a little bit and discover who we are and learn to love who the fuck we are 150%, we end up in situations we don't want to be in with people we don't really genuinely like. And it ends up hurting that next person. And it becomes this cycle almost, right? Because I hate myself, right? I don't. But like, let's say I don't love myself the way that I should. And I'm looking for a companion to fill that void. That's all I'm looking for. So I go on a dating site and I meet somebody who's all right, doesn't knock my fucking socks off. We don't really have that great of a connection, but it's a human body to keep me company, right? So I engage, and this person who obviously also needs to do some work within themselves, right? Or maybe doesn't, who knows, is probably in a good place. Who knows, whatever the scenario is. Think of any scenario in your head, right? We enter into a relationship because it started out as fucking, but then I felt as though I needed to kind of take it further because that's just, it's like the chronological order of the way things need to go, right? So we enter into a relationship, but I'm not really deep down 100% satisfied with this person. And I know that going into it, but I get into a relationship with this person because I think, why not? I'm not alone. Better than being alone. Okay. We get into a relationship, let's say even 6 months down the road, we spend 6 months together. This person ends up genuinely liking me and loving me, possibly falling in love with me. And I'm not really there because I only entered into this relationship to fill a void. And this person was attractive enough and nice enough that I got into a relationship with them. And then 6 months down the road, somebody that I genuinely want to be with or somebody that would genuinely catch my eye comes along and I end up cheating or leaving that person for this other person. What does that do to that person? And this is how we create these like cycles of fucking trust issues and these cycles of insecurity. So you may enter into a relationship feeling good about yourself, but you're entering into a relationship with somebody who doesn't. Kind of like what I did, with my ex. Entering into a relationship with somebody who didn't have the self-love that they needed, right? And you're at the top of your game, and because this person doesn't feel that great about themselves, they're going to project that onto you, when realistically they shouldn't be in a relationship to begin with. They should be dating themselves and trying to work on themselves and love themselves so that they can come to a place of self-love and enter into a relationship. Those are the healthiest relationships. And it sounds so cliche to say, but as somebody who's been through it, I've been on both sides, the receiving end, but also the giving end. You know, I'm not perfect. I've filled voids before. It doesn't do either party any service. You're doing both parties a disservice by coming into a relationship not fully loving who you are as a person. And it's the truest statement. We have to love ourselves in order to be able to fully love somebody else. Because part of loving somebody else is being able to receive love. It's not the giving of love that a lot of people have trouble with. It's the receiving of it, being able to receive it and just accept it. When somebody comes to you and says, I love you, love handles and all, who you are as a human being, no matter what you throw at me, I love you unconditionally as long as it's not fucking toxic and ridiculous. I mean, let's be real. But I love who you are because you are you. If you don't love yourself, you're not going to believe that person. You're not going to believe that person at all. You're going to have this continuous mental talk in your head of, well, it's only a matter of time before this person leaves me for somebody better. And you're going to continue to say that to yourself. And it drives people to cheat. It drives people to because a lot of times people get this idea in their heads, well, it's only a matter of time before they leave me. So let me leave them first. Let me hurt them first. And this is why we're such a fucking hurt society. Like when it comes to dating, we're such a like fuck shit society. That's the only way I could put it. We're this generation of fuck boys and girls because we're so afraid of getting hurt, and we're so afraid of putting ourselves out there, and we're so afraid of being alone. And that's what it comes down to. You have to be alone for a while. These jumping from one relationship to another, even getting onto Tinder and just passing the time with people. I never understood that because to me, people are people. People are human beings. I fucking pass the time with this little good old thing right here, this cell phone. I pass the time with my TV and YouTube. I pass the time with my computer. I pass the time with music. I pass the time podcasting. These are all inanimate objects. You can surely pass the time with inanimate objects, but to take a human being and try and use a human being to pass the time, that doesn't make any fucking sense to me. Because no matter how much you think you can fuck and just not have any sort of feelings, like, okay, fine. If you fuck once and have a one-night stand, yeah, you're never going to think about that person again. But if you enter into a situation where you're fucking somebody continuously, at some point, especially if you're a female, at one point or another, feelings are going to be involved. Maybe not love. Maybe not, like, you might not fall in love with that person, but at some point you're going to find some sort of attachment, because sex is not just a tool. Sex is not just an activity. At least that's what I was taught. That's how I grew up. And again, if you're watching this and you're continuing to watch these episodes, in episode, I think it was 3, where I talked to my mother, we mentioned how, she always taught my sister and I that sex is like not sacred in the sense that wait till marriage, but sex is the act of sex is something not to be used as a tool. That you should be having sex with somebody you trust and you can at the very least, see yourself developing feelings for. And so that's why I'm going to completely admit, and it sounds crazy to say, it's been almost 2 years since I've had sex with anybody, because I haven't found anybody that I have those types of feelings for. Yeah, there are hot people all around me all the time, and some that want me to fuck them. But I haven't done that because my therapist always told me, especially when I was doing the rebuilding from being in my past relationship, that I don't need that type of distraction in my life because it complicates things. You know, again, it's cliche, but it does. And so it brings me back to my point that we're not, I'm not saying be celibate. Like, that's not what I'm saying. But we're not taking the time needed to genuinely put the work in to ourselves. We're literally focusing on everything else other than ourselves, rebuilding ourselves after breakups, bettering ourselves in any way, being healthier mentally, being healthier physically, whatever it is. You know, I was 40 pounds. You go check my old YouTube content, like on my other channels. Go back to 3 years ago. I was 40 pounds heavier. But when I finally started to, when my ex and I broke up, I finally started to take care of myself, because I was living for somebody else for so long, almost as a way of distracting myself from me and all my shortcomings. You know, like, if I'm focused on this person 100%, I don't have to focus on what I need to change, you know? So in a way, me doing all of that for her and being what I was for her was my way of kind of distracting myself. And it wasn't until I got my heart broken and I literally had no choice but to face me that I was like, okay, well, you know what? I could either veer on this path and, you know, I could double down on drinking and drink myself into a stupor. I could develop all of these bad habits, or I could take this time as an opportunity to better me mentally and physically and emotionally. And that's what I've been doing. That's what I am trying to still do, because, again, by no means am I perfect whatsoever. I have so much that needs to be worked on. But the fact of the matter is I don't see many people. I think I know one other person in my life, maybe two, that after a serious breakup and heartbreak and upset, they remained single. They didn't jump onto fucking dating apps right after being single. And they remained single and went through what they needed to go through. You know, nobody's saying it's easy. It's not like you just bounce back. You got to go through it. But the only way out is the way through. And that is the truest thing. You have to go through the darkness in order to come out the other side. And not enough of us are doing that. And there's so much I could say about this, but I kind of just wanted to kind of like overview, and maybe I'll have one of my friends on or something like that to kind of talk about it in more detail and go through stories or something like that. Who knows? But I think it's important. I think it's important that we realize just how crucial it is for us to spend time alone. It's the same way they say when you're fucking somebody. They say, like, you have to masturbate in order to be able to tell your partner what you like in the bed. You know what I mean? When you're doing the mattress motherfucking mambo, how can you tell somebody what you like if you've never explored yourself? Well, it's the same thing as a relationship. If you've never spent time with you and really grown to be self-aware of your habits that may suck, because when you spend time with yourself, you kind of like at least for me, I'm like, oh shit, I do that. You know, like, I fucking do that. I gotta kind of work on that. I suck at this, but I'm really good at this. That's what happens when you spend time with yourself, right? You can't tell somebody what you want in a relationship if you don't know who you are and you haven't taken the time to figure it out. You know what I mean? You can't let somebody know, listen, this is what I need from you. This is my love language. This is what I expect in my relationship. This is what I'm going to give and what I'm willing to give. You can't do any of that without discovering yourself and rediscovering yourself. And unfortunately, we're all too fucking distracted with situationships. And then we wonder why we're single or why these situationships don't fucking work out. It's because we're not putting in the work that we need to be putting in as a collective. That's just my opinion. You know, I'm not a fucking relationship guru. I just know what I step back and observe, and I know what I observe. And what I'm observing with people my age and younger in the dating scene is that we're distracting. We're not facing. And it's detrimental to our relationships. And not always, it doesn't even mean like always romantic relationships. Even our platonic relationships are suffering because we don't know what kind of friends we are, you know? I'll tell you a story. My best friend, Brittany, who she'll be on this episode, but if you know me from TikTok, you know her. Let me brighten that a little bit. There you go. She is one of the I have like 4 or 5 best friends. Like, she's one of the closest people to me in my life, like one of my closest friends. We got close quickly, and yeah, and that's because the vibe was just there. And we got into a fight. I don't even remember about what. Oh, okay. So we all know, if you've watched my previous episode about my toxic relationship, that I was in a toxic relationship with somebody who was mentally abusive, and that causes some triggers that I didn't even fucking realize existed. So needless to say, me and Brittany are very close friends. She's not my girlfriend, but we're just very close. She messages me one day and she says to me, "I'm having a really bad day and everybody's pissing me off." And I didn't realize that I registered that and got triggered from that one little thing, and I'll explain why. And then she says, something. My sister texted her about something that I told my sister. And she texted me kidding, like joking around, after making that comment to me that everybody was pissing her off. She texted me joking around and was like, "Oh my God, you have such a big mouth." But she was kidding. But because of what I had gone through in the past, I didn't realize that that triggered me, or that would trigger me. And I didn't even realize at that moment that it was a trigger. And so instead of me taking it as a joke, you guys know if you've seen my live, that when she's on there, we just rip on each other. That's just kind of how we have always been. I didn't realize that she's a different person than my ex, And so I automatically went into defense mode and started fighting her. And got defensive, and we ended up fighting. We ended up not, like, long story short, we ended up having words. I basically went off on her because I was expecting her to get pissed off at me. That's what I was expecting. And we ended up not speaking for almost a week because she was joking with me and I took it the wrong way. Because in my head, when my ex would say, "I'm having such a bad," that was one of the triggers, that let me know that it was coming, that I was going to be her punching bag. That's what I was. I was her punching bag. So in my relationship, whenever my ex would say, "I'm having such a bad day, everybody's pissing me off," it was only a matter of time before she found something to basically get pissed off at me for and fight with me about. And it could be the littlest thing, like I have such a big mouth, I told somebody something, whatever, or the littlest thing, because most of the time it was the fucking littlest thing. And then we would fight and it would be a blowout. It'd be volatile and toxic and negative talk toward me. All of this shit would happen. So when my best friend said, I'm having such a bad day, everybody's pissing me off, that lit something in my brain, lit up something in my brain to let me know subconsciously, okay, here it comes. So when 5 minutes later she said, you have such a big mouth, she was joking. I didn't take it as a joke. The moral of the story is we don't even realize when we get out of relationships and we jump into brand new relationships with new people thinking that, we need to be with them in order to fill a void or whatever. We don't even realize, because we haven't taken the time enough to be by ourselves to catch these like little triggers. We don't even realize that things are triggering us because we haven't taken the time to discover those triggers. It took me that fight and then literally talking about that fight in therapy with my therapist for my therapist to be like, do you think maybe there's some grand, bigger reason why that set you off? And you kind of have to reverse engineer situations, especially if you've been in toxic situations. And not everybody has, but a lot of people have. And I think not just if you've been in a toxic situation, but if you're just coming out of a relationship, it's not the healthiest to jump into a new one. Spend a couple of months, depending on how, even if you're over it completely, we need to take time to be by ourselves and kind of become elastic, because we don't realize that we develop certain habits with certain people that don't need to be there with new people, if that makes any sense. I hope that fucking makes sense. Like, if I'm with somebody who's got OCD and needs, everything in place, and then I get out of a relationship with that person and enter into a new relationship with this new person, I'm kind of conditioned to be the way that I was with my OCD girlfriend. But now this new girlfriend doesn't have OCD, and I'm walking on these eggshells for no fucking reason because I haven't kind of like recouped, if that makes any sense. So I know I'm kind of fucking rambling, but I just wanted to throw this out there, that if you're newly out of a relationship, I'm not telling you what to do. If you want to fuck, get laid, girl, boy, whatever. Like, get yours if that's what makes you happy. But more importantly than anything, if you're newly out of a relationship and you're newly single, just know you don't need to jump right into a situation. If you feel like you do, that should be a red flag to let you know that you need to love yourself more. And we're a society of people who just don't fucking love ourselves enough. And because of that, our relationships suffer. And when our relationships suffer, society suffers. It's like this vicious cycle, So we should stop that cycle and love ourselves and literally fuck ourselves and be here for us. It's the most selfless thing you can do is to be selfish. They always say that cliche term, when you're on a plane, if the plane is going down and there's a child sitting next to you, you need to put your mask on first before you can attend to that child. Because how can you help that child if you friggin' die? Or if you lose oxygen, then you both dead. You know what I mean? So the moral of the story is take care of you first and foremost. Spend time with you. It's fucking great, man. It's great. You get to a point where you're like, am I ready to be in a relationship? Like, I'm just enjoying this freedom, and like, I'm enjoying being by myself and not having to answer to anybody. And I'm enjoying being an individual, you know? Not to say I don't want to be in a relationship, but I of course I want to be in a relationship, and I want to love somebody, and I want to be loved. We all want that. We all yearn for that, right? But the right relationship and the right love and the right situation. And that's where I'm at. And in my humble opinion, that's where at one point or another in our lives we all should be at, because distractions are just that. They're distractions. I don't want anybody distracting me from myself. I want to learn about who I am. And I think we all should be learning who we are, what we love, what we don't love. So yeah, that's it. I just wanted to come on. I don't even know how long did I. All right, a half hour. These fucking episodes are all over the place. I apologize. I just felt like I had to say some shit about that. I don't even know what the next episode is going to entail. I'm trying to get some things together and some people together. I'm trying to figure out all the technicalities of everything, so bear with me. But yeah, I hope this sheds some light on some shit, and I appreciate every single one of you guys that have listened and are listening. The secret word is penguin. If you've listened up to this point, the secret word is penguin. Comment below the secret word or message me, DM me either on TikTok if you're here from TikTok or whatever social media platform you have me on. DM me penguin, the word penguin, and I'll know that you listened this far. And if so, I'll ask for your permission to possibly one of these episodes. I want to just have one full episode of me calling as many people as possible and just shooting the shit with people. Because at the end of the day, I want this to be a conversation. I'm not a fucking guru. I'm not an expert. I've just been through enough shit to be able to kind of speak my piece on certain things. So, ow. So anyway, I love you all. Thank you so much for listening. Remember, penguin, message me it, okay? Thank you again. I love you guys. Peace out.